recording. Hola, hola y buenos días, muy buenos días y bienvenidos y bienvenidas a todos y a todas. Scasiel will ask me to remind everybody that today, hoy el 24, sí, es el 24 de abril. Today is first day for registration for summer. Yeah, so yeah, how that time flies. So today's first day for registration. If you're a non-Scottsdale resident, that means tomorrow is the first day. They take Tuesdays, but if you're a resident, on Mondays. Para que sepan, so you know, because I know a lot of people, especially in the summer, boy, if you've got little ones and you've got to get them into those swimming lessons or tennis lessons or all that, yeah, it's not just your class, it's everybody else's stuff. So, when?
So starting when is it? I didn't.
Today.
No. The class.
Oh, the summer classes?
Mm-hmm.
I believe, and I don't know, because I cannot get into the system yet, I don't know the exact first date.
It's the first week of June.
I was going to say, it'll need to be, and I don't know where that June thing falls.
June until when, Mark? Do you know?
Yeah, it goes till
August.
pretty late in August.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I think they leave 1 week off for the people who do Memorial Day trips, because, Memorial Day, end of May, and they know people will take off for that. So, yeah, exactly which date, I don't know, because I can't look into that part yet. I might be able to later today check that out and see.
I went ahead and signed up, and it is like the very first week of June. It starts like, I don't know, June 3rd or something. And then not till the end of August, but I think there's 1 week open at the end of August.
Yeah, my guess is that it will probably be June 5th for the first day, because Memorial Day does fall on a Monday. Okay, that doesn't happen very often, naturally. But so I do not think it will be it won't be the week of June 1st, because June 1st falls on a Thursday. So my guess is that it will be about June 5th. If I find out it's something other than June 5th, I'll let you know.
Okay. Unfortunately, I can't do it. So you think if I don't do it this summer, then I'm going to miss a lot.
Está bien. Yeah. Well, no, it's all, no se preocupen. Don't anybody worry about that. If a lot of people need to take a breather or step out, especially if you have little kids and you're busy with them in the summer and you're taking them to see relatives or whatever else, because yeah, it's a lot of work having kids. Don't worry about missing stuff, because we always do some review things and,
Okay.
Yeah, not a big deal. Okay. A ver, bueno, entonces, siguiente, next. Okay, what are we going to do today? Today, I want to work with those hace and time phrases. So we're going to do that early in the class. I'm going to pull up the screen, because I know some of you like to pull the screen up and a second window. Some of you may print it off, but all of these things. And here were our questions. We had 2 sets of questions, and we'll review how we use those before we, throw you into practice. But the hace with time phrases, and any questions you have ahead of time, I'll give you time to ask those questions before you get into smaller groups to work with that. We'll pull up some important pointers. Pistas importantes, important clues for you to think about when you use hace and time phrases, okay? Second thing I want to work on is a little bit of saber and conocer. Wow, saber and conocer, the 2 know verbs and how we use them. And I would like to give you some little small group practice with that. Again, we'll review those 2 verbs before we go do that. And I want to leave a little time for some phrases that use tomar. So it'll be an all verb day, but different kinds of verbs. Yeah. And of course, any other questions you have, feel free to interrupt because it's okay. Está bien. Vamos a empezar con un ejercicio de escuchar. Un ejercicio de escuchar. This is, as usual, a little tongue-in-cheek. Take it with a grain of salt video, but something for listening. Purely for listening, easy verbs, a lot of tener. And I'll probably just pause a couple things. So this is not related to our grammar for the day or our verbs specifically for the day, but it's a fun video to begin to get your ears tweaked and ready to listen. Okay. 10 cosas en una casa mexicana. 10 things in a Mexican house. And one of them, I will explain a little bit better because one of them may puzzle you. Well, possibly more than one may puzzle you, but okay. Vamos a ver.
Una casa mexicana. ¿Cómo es una casa mexicana?
How is, and we might say, in English wouldn't frame that question as how is a Mexican house? We would ask, what's a Mexican house like? Yeah, that's how we would phrase that idea in English, but in Spanish, pero en español, ¿cómo es? What's it like? ¿Cómo es una casa mexicana?
Hola, hoy tú y yo vamos a ver 10 cosas.
We're going to see. Notice how we've got near future, gonna see. We're going to see 10 things.
10 cosas que tiene una casa mexicana. Tambores.
Tambores, drum roll. Tambores are drums.
Una casa mexicana tiene personas.
Okay. Qué sorpresa.
Una casa mexicana tiene, ¡tarán!, velas. Velas. Velas.
Velas. Velas son candles. Candles, ¿sí?
Sí, velas. Velas. Velas para defender la casa. Las personas tienen velas.
People have candles.
Y si el diablo ve estas velas.
If the devil sees these candles, next time you go in a big grocery store, look for some of these candles, because in a lot of stores here, you actually see a small section. It might be near the Mexican food section, unless of course you go to an actual more Mexican food oriented place like Food City. But look for them. They typically have these paintings. This is a very Mexican thing, es así. Yeah, it's ward off those evil spirits, folks,
El diablo dice,
"Oh no!"
El diablo muere.
Muere. And we're going to review very soon some of these stem changing verbs. Muere, he dies. But it comes from morir. So for those of you who haven't had a lesson yet on stem changing, we'll start to do very soon, not today, but very soon, some stem changers.
Número 2. 1, 2. Número 2. La casa mexicana tiene una chancla.
Una chancla. ¿Qué es una chancla? ¿Cómo se dice chancla en inglés?
Flip-flop.
Flip-flop. Sí, chancla es sandal o flip-flop. Una chancla, there is a joke behind this, but you got to see this first.
Una chancla. Una chancla.
Una
Número-
chancla. Why did she show this? This is a stereotype of Mexican homes. Una chancla. There are go on YouTube this week for the fun of it and type in the word chancla Mexican mom, and you will laugh your guts out. Chancla is the stereotype is that when moms don't like what their kids do, they hit them in the head with a chancla.
Smack with that.
You smack your kid upside the head or
Yeah.
somewhere. Yeah, with a chancla. Which
Yeah.
sounds really, depending on how vehement you are about, raising your children or not, is either seen as quite abusive or, but doesn't every mom at some point do that?
Well, in Indonesia is doing
Oh.
that's pretty common, that thing too, the chancla. Everybody has that because it's tropical, so it's kind of makes sense that you day to day going around in the house, you're wearing that kind of stuff. But- Yeah, fortunately, my mom never used that to smack me with it.
Yeah.
Lucky me.
So I won't use my hand to strike you, but that chancla, I'll
You can let
grab
you have it.
that and smack my kid up. Okay. So it is a stereotype. It is something that almost all Mexicans laugh about and say, yes, this happened to me. And, when es así, it's that way. Okay.
3. 1, 2, 3. Número 3. Las casas en México tienen pinol, downy, fabuloso, suavitel o cloro. Cloro.
Cloro, Clorox. I think she is not
Las
allowed to use
casas en
the
México
label.
huelen
Huelen. Oh, here's another STEM changer. So next week, we'll start to show you and do review a little bit more on what those STEM changers mean. Huelen.
Huelen.
Huelen. They smell a certain way, right? When something gives off an odor, it's oler, which is kind of a special STEM changer. We'll show you why next week, but oler, something to smell a certain way. Okay.
muy bien. Las
Huelen bien.
casas en México huelen a flores, a
And notice when we say it smells like something, they use that little word ah. They just do. It doesn't really translate that little word ah in this case. Huelen a flores, smells like flowers. Huelen a fruta pudrida, smells like rotten fruit. Huelen a perro, smells like a doggy. Huelen, whatever it smells like. See, whatever it smells like. Here's the smells like. We use an and then what it smells like. Okay.
comida y a cloro. Huelen a cloro. Las personas en México limpian muy bien las casas. Las casas
They clean their houses really, really well. And yeah, that's just, point of pride for a lot of Mexican housewives to really keep that living space clean.
huelen muy bien. Número 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Número 4. Un comal. Un comal.
Un comal.
Un-
There is not a good translation for that word comal. A comal is what it is. You'll see what it does.
¿Comal? Sí, un comal sobre la estufa. Sobre la estufa.
Sobre means on top of, or over, or on, right? Sobre la estufa, on the stove.
tortilla.
Todas las casas
Yeah.
en México tienen un comal.
Comal.
¿Qué es un comal? Las personas en México ponen las tortillas aquí, en el comal, en la estufa. Ah, un comal. Número 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Número 5. Un tortillero. Un tortillero.
Tortillero has really, yeah, it's just like comal doesn't have an exact translation. You might say griddle, maybe for comal, but tortillero. Anytime you see an ERO at the end of a word, ero, usually talks about a person who has a job of a certain type or a thing which serves a purpose of whatever the first part is. So tortillero is a place for storing your
Tortilla.
tortillas, tortillero. It's job. The ero means I have this job of storing tortillas. Okay. Bien.
¿Un tortillero? Sí. Primero, las personas ponen las tortillas en el comal. Aquí. Después, las personas guardan las tortillas dentro de un tortillero.
And guardan is a great word for you to know if you don't recall what that is. Guardar looks like guard. It can, in the right context, mean to guard something, guardar. But more frequently, when we use guardar, it means to keep or store or put something away. Okay. So we use guardar with putting things in your pocket because you keep it in there. Or guardar, to put something in your files, guardar en el archivo, keep it in the files, okay? Or guardar for keeping things in shelves, in gabinetes, okay? So guardar means to keep something, meaning you're storing it away to use it later, okay.
Ah, las tortillas aquí o aquí. Dentro del tortillero. Un tortillero. Sí. Número 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Número 6. Un cuadro. ¿Un cuadro? Sí.
Cuadro is picture, cuadro, right? Cuadra with an A at the end means a city block. It has to be cuadro. Okay, a picture. And here this is related to las velas, the candle thing.
Un cuadro de la última cena.
La última cena, it's going to be a Last Supper picture.
Un cuadro de la Virgen de Guadalupe.
Virgen de Guadalupe, the Virgin of Guadalupe. La Virgen de Guadalupe es María, la Madre de Jesucristo. Okay, bien. So she's talking about the kinds of pictures that will be in a typical Mexican
Cuadro
house. Religious pictures.
La Virgen de Guadalupe o
religious pictures.
la última cena. Número 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Número 7. Chile. Salsa. Sí. Todas las casas en México tienen chile o salsa. Muy bueno. Número 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Número 8. ¡Tarán! ¡Yogurt! ¡Sí! ¡Yogurt! ¡Sí! ¿Frijoles?
Beans.
Frijoles.
Frijoles.
Yogurt. No.
No.
Frijoles. 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 Bueno, frijoles. Ahora tenemos frijoles. Frijoles. Bueno, ahora voy a comer frijoles. Frijoles. Número 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Número 9. ¡Tarán!
9. And 9 no es nuevo. I'm going to point out again, nuevo. Nuevo is new, but nueve, you have to smile at the end of 9. 9. 9.
Un horno. Un horno.
Un horno, a stove. Estufa is the top part of the stove. Yeah, with the burner. Okay. But the inside where you bake things is el horno. El horno. And la H no se pronuncia. We don't pronounce that H in the word horno. So an oven, but she's going to talk about the oven in an interesting way.
Ay, un horno con muchas sartenes. Sartenes
Sartenes, skillets.
dentro. Sartenes dentro de un horno.
Esto sí es importante. This is another thing. It is another stereotype. Yet people online tell me this is the absolute 100%, 100% by 100%, 100%, la verdad, that this is what in a typical Mexican, this is where one stores one's frying pans in a Mexican household. And people who grew up tell me that, yes, this is how mom always did it. So apparently, although it is a stereotype, there must be some kind of grain of truth in it, because a lot of people who have verified that this happened in their families. You want to bake, a big bird like a turkey or something. You got to take all the pans outside of the inside of el horno. Así es, so it is. Okay.
De un horno. La, 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 la. Sartenes. Sí. Número 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Número 10. Una bolsa de plástico.
And remember when we talk about things, materials that an object is made of, we don't use those as an adjective. We have to have de and the kind of material. So de plástico, something is plastic. We can use the word plastic as a describer in English. You cannot in Spanish. It has to be de plástico. So materials, things that objects are manufactured out of or made out of. We've got to use de and then the material. De plástico, plastic. De madera, wooden or wood. Yeah. So it would never be a wood chair or wooden chair. It would be una silla de madera. Una silla de plástica. Okay. Bien. De metal, a metal item, see, de metal. So we always, when we talk about the material something is made out of, it's de and the name of that material.
Una bolsa. Sí. Una bolsa. ¿Huh? Sí. Una bolsa con
más bolsas. Con bolsas.
Bolsas. Una bolsa con bolsas. Y esto tiene una casa mexicana.
Bien. Bien. Okay. No, ever, yeah. Don't you want to recycle all those plastic? Sí, quiero reciclar las bolsas de plástico. I'd love to recycle all that stuff, but sometimes you can't anymore. And actually, in a lot of places outside of the United States, it is very common in many countries. I don't know all of them. No soy experta, so I cannot enumerate them all, but it is very common for people to have to bring their own bags to grocery shops. So I kind of think that's why that saving bags, because, well, and you know, again, well, just frugal living. Okay. A ver. Bueno, so we've
So when you say de plástico, you say also una silla de plástica. So you gotta make to change that. Like
the
using
word
a plástico or plástica.
plástico.
Just
Sí.
plástico.
Eso,
Okay.
yeah. The material always stays. Yeah, the material is not like color adjectives or
Okay.
yeah. The material.
Well, because
is
I
a
thought that I
noun.
heard you say una silla de plástica. Okay.
Un error. De plástico, de madera, with de metal. Yeah, that material will not
Okay.
change.
Change.
Okay, bien. Ok, vamos a practicar un poquito con cosas nuevas. Okay, now we've got our little warm up. We're going to get ready for some small group work, and I'm going to pull this up. A ver, y voy a engrandecer un poquito aquí las letras que tenemos, the letters that we have here, para que puedan ver un poquito más fácilmente, so you can see it a little bit more easily. We're going to work with these hace things, but we're going to do our little preview, a reminder, a repaso, a little review. Hace plus time. It can tell how long you've been doing something, okay? And the action started sometime back there. Could have started 5 minutes ago, could have started 10 years ago. Yeah, but the action continues now. So what these are is hace, time, and then a verb is going to happen after the hace and the time, right? One important thing to know is the verb we use with hace, and then time, and then the verb. The verb in this case needs to be in present, presente. All the examples I gave you, I believe all the examples I gave were with present, because you guys don't all know past tense. A few of you maybe have studied a little bit of past tense. Hace with present tense verbs means somebody has been doing something for a certain amount of time since a certain time, okay? And if we were to switch that into a past verb with those hace phrases, then hace changes to mean ago. So we're not going to really get into the past because everybody doesn't know past. We're going to stick with the present. So, okay, a ver, hace, a time period, yeah? And it can be anything from minutes to days to hours to months, yeah. With that little word que, quite often, once in a while, you'll have people who skip that word que, but usually it should be there. And a present verb, because it changes it to ago if you make it past. So we're going to keep them present. And you can flip it around a little bit. This hace and the time period, it either leads off, yeah, it'll lead off hace un minuto, hace una semana, hace 2 meses, hace 3 años. No importa. We can use it with any chunk of time. All right. And que. If this hace with the period of time idea is flipped to the end of the sentence, if we invert it and put it at the end, in other words, switch the order, then we need the present verb, and then it needs to become desde hace and that time period. Desde hace. So either one of these two alternatives in the bold are okay. All right. Mostly I want you to stick with this one because it's easier to remember, we lead off with hace and a period of time. Okay. So, un ejemplo. Entonces, un ejemplo, hace 20 años que monto en bici de montaña. I have been mountain biking. I've been riding a mountain bike for 20 years. I started 20 years ago. I'm still doing this now. So because I still do this, I keep monto in present tense. Okay. I keep monto in present tense because I started that long ago and I still do it now. Okay. It's not that I did it and I no longer do it. I still, that monto indicates that I still do this. Okay. So I could equally, with the same meaning in mind, flip the order of those phrases and phrase it as monto en bici de montaña desde hace 20 años. Either way is okay. I think it's good for you to learn the hace time period up front. It's a little bit easier, but you can flip the order of those phrases. But when you do that, when you flip the order, and when the time period comes at the end, we need the desde combined with hace, okay? And sometimes I do hear people dropping that word desde even when they flip the order. Don't be surprised. Once in a while, people will do different things. So, okay. The question to get to this kind of an answer, this kind of response is, ¿Cuánto tiempo hace? How much time does it make? Again, hace really means make. Right? And in all of these sentences, hace will never become hago, right? It's always going to be hace. It makes this time that I do this. All right. And that's why we don't translate this idea word for word, because if I translated it word for word, it would be like, it would be difficult for an English speaker to understand it. It makes a year that I do this. We don't say that. You may kind of understand it, but it sounds strange in English. It does not sound strange in Spanish. So, ¿Cuánto tiempo hace que? And then we need to insert a verb, right? All right. So why do we use this, or when do we use this? We use this because this idea expresses the idea activity started at that time indicated in that chunk of time part of the sentence, but it continues into the present day. So we are still doing that activity. All right. And the period of time slot can be anything. It can be anything that denotes time. Un rato means a short while. Even poco tiempo, a little bit of time, works. Mucho tiempo, a long time, works, even though those are vague. Poco tiempo, un rato, a short while, those are vague, but we can do that, yeah? I've been doing it for a while, un rato. Hace mucho tiempo que, for a long time, I've been doing something. And how long is a long time? I don't know. So mucho tiempo is a very vague term. Un rato or poco tiempo is a very vague term, but they work with this. Or we can be specific and have 5 días, un mes, 3 años, una semana, 20 minutos, 20 minutes, lo que sea, whatever it may be, you can plug in, you can slot in any kind of period of time. So here are the first phrases I would like you to practice with. I'm trying to make these a little bit, I see, okay. I'm going to send those into the Zoom room in case you didn't get a chance to print them out, or you can't, in case you have a tablet and you can't bring up 2. So here's your template. Here's your example. ¿Cuánto tiempo haces que bebes café? How long have you been drinking coffee? And I don't even know how many years it is. So I'm going to use the vague period of time. Hace mucho tiempo que bebo café. I've been drinking coffee a long time, okay? And you're implying by saying bebo that you still do, okay? It's not a thing that has ended. You still do, okay? So hopefully you were able to look up any words you needed on wordreference.com. But remember, all of these, not all. See, all of these verbs are asked with the tu verb question, right? Right? Okay. So when we answer this, cuidado, be careful and be mindful. When we answer these questions, we must answer with a yo verb. Okay.
Is this the first time you've had it on, that you're showing this, these questions to us? I didn't get, I don't know, I didn't see them before.
These were at the end.
Oh,
Did
okay,
I not send these? These were at the end of the
you probably did, but I missed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have
Okay,
it
and
on
if you-
your email.
Yeah,
Oh.
and yeah. So when you pull up the slides, these are at the end of the slides. So okay. But no te preocupes, don't worry about it, okay? So, okay. A ver, momentito otra vez. Let me pull that up again. And you'll see these. I don't expect you to memorize 8 questions, no? So you'll see these on the screen when you go into your groups. So we're going to preview what all of these are asking. These are asking, how long have you been doing your hobby? Or practicing your hobby, right? And this practicas might not become practico, it might become something else, you know. Okay. Por ejemplo, for example, if your hobby is, if your hobby is riding motorcycles, yeah. Then montar, yeah. Probably you won't use practico, monto en moto. I ride a motorcycle. Okay, so depende, right? How long have you lived in Arizona? You need to use vivir in yo to answer that, okay? How long have you been working at your job? And if you are retired, just take whatever you used to do. Okay, bien, to make it a little bit easier. How long have you had a pet? And if you haven't had a pet, think of somebody you know who has a pet. Yeah. How long have you known your best friend? Oh, and remember, this one gets an odd ending for the yo form. This conoces, yeah, gets that little odd yo ending that looks like this. So I'll put that clue in to make it easier for you to pronounce that. How long have you been driving a car? Yeah, any old car. Perdón. How long have you been using your favorite shoes? And I have to confess, I did this because I just bought a new pair for something that finally wore out. How long have you been wearing your favorite shoes? Everybody's got a favorite pair. Yeah. How long have you been wearing your favorite pair of shoes? And how long have you lived in your house? Not in Arizona, but wherever it is that you live right now. How long have you lived in your particular house or apartment? Apartamento. I'm going to add apartamento in here because it might be apartamento. If you do not own a house, okay, bien. So we need to flip it to a yo verb to answer it, but you're going to have a different period of time, right? In there. So,
can I have a question before we do that?
sí, claro.
like if you say that this is like hace whatever time that you mentioned, but then you don't do it anymore because this is you say that this when you're still doing it in present time. So what if you don't do it anymore? What do you say that?
Well,
How do you mention that?
yes, then it becomes more like an ago idea. You would have to use a past tense verb instead of a present tense verb. So, hace 20 años que monto en bicicleta indicates that at some point I still do this activity of riding, right?
Right. Right.
But I rode 5 years ago, but I don't anymore.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would put that verb into a past tense.
Okay.
Okay. But I want you to stick with present tense because we haven't had a past tense lesson for most people in this.
All right.
Okay. Bien.
Okay. Sí.
Vale. Okay. Bien.
Sí.
Otra pregunta. Any other question? If you aren't quite sure what to do, ask me now. And when you get into your groups, the point of doing this with a smaller group is to coach each other a little bit through that process. And vamos a ver. I'm going to add one extra room and move just a couple of people around a little bit. Uy, un poquito más, momentito. Okay, I wanted to even out my number of people in the rooms a little bit better. Vale, bueno, okay. 10 minutos. Is 10 minutes too much?
No.
Because that's a lot of
A lot.
ideas, isn't it? Yeah.
Right.
I think I need to give you a good 10 minutes. When we come back, we'll deal with any questions you had or things that you found a little funky or odd to use. And so I want to give people a chance to express their ideas because maybe you've had a pet for 10 years, but maybe your friend has had a pet for only 2 months. Yeah. Okay. So you should all have different things. And you'll see these questions in your breakout rooms. Once you hit the join button, I will be able to send everything into your breakout rooms. Aquí, bien. Diez minutos son muchos. Wow, 10 minutes is really kind of a lot, but I think we need about 10 minutes so that different people can take their turns talking and that everybody gets some listening time and some practice time and some coaching time, because we all need that time. A ver. Okay. A ver. Tengo que hacer caso del tiempo. Wow, I really got to pay attention to the time, make sure that pretty precise about that 10-minute countdown. We're about halfway through. Okay, 1 minuto. We're going to let people give people 1 more minute to finish up. Just sent out that notice. 1 more minute to tie up any loose ends, finish the last couple of questions. Inevitably, somebody will say, shoot, we only got to number 6, número 6, or something like that. That happens too, and that's okay. But hopefully people are able to finish most of this. And the countdown will start to bring everybody back together. Okay, aquí vienen. Here comes people back, almost everybody back. Uy, y más, y más, y más, more coming back. A ver. Some people take advantage of those last few seconds to finish up. Okay. Bien. Aquí vienen todos. I think we got everybody coming back now. Vale, bueno. Y ¿cuáles son sus preguntas? What are your questions about doing this little drill? Anything that you didn't quite get to figure out how to piece it together, or?
We got most of it. We did
One at
try
a time.
with a desde.
Mhm.
Desde.
Oh, yeah.
Can we go over that one more time?
Which one?
With using desde hace.
Oh, desde hace. Ok, sí. Vale, bien. Bueno. Voy a demostrar. Ok, por ejemplo, let us say that you are an avid swimmer. Bien, por ejemplo, okay. And you do laps, and this is what you do every morning, okay? Or every afternoon, lo que sea, whatever it may be. Hace 15 años, 15 years, hace 15 años que nado para mi ejercicio. Hace 15 años que nado. I've been swimming for 15 years. If I just flip the order of those, I can change it to nado desde hace 15 años. So if I flip the order, instead of just the hace, it has to become desde hace, and that period of time. So I can phrase this either way, but if I flip the order of those phrases, then, and I put the period of time at the back of the sentence, then it has to start with not just hace and the period of time, but rather desde hace and the period of time. Bien? Make sense?
Mhm.
Bien? Okay.
So you don't have to put tiempo in there, but you can.
No. The
Mhm.
tiempo is replaced.
Yeah, that's right.
Time is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Tiempo has to be in the question because
Right.
we're asking about time. But what time? You're plugging in minutos or años or meses, months,
Okay.
semanas, weeks. Yeah. Okay. If you've had a cooking class for 4 weeks,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Right.
You're like my kids, not very good with the cooking skills, yeah. Hace 4 años, hace 4 meses, hace 4 semanas, however long it has been. Hace 4 semanas, 4 weeks. Hace 4 semanas que voy a la clase de cocinar. I go to cooking class.
Mhm.
Eso, ¿sí? Bien.
Sí.
Bien. Así. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. The cuánto tiempo hace, how much time does it make, right?
Right.
Some
How
of
long
those
have you been doing
words
that or something?
told,
That's the way
yeah, a
I-
lot of those words from the question get yanked out because we plug in what makes sense there. Okay. Otra pregunta. So I'll give you an example, Liza, for all like how if somebody were to ask me these questions muy rápidamente, very, very quickly, how I would answer them so you can hear the cadence. And I'm going to start them all off with the hace because it's a little bit, en mi opinión, para mí, in my opinion, para mí es más fácil empezar con hace y el tiempo. ¿Ok? ¿Cuánto tiempo hace que practicas tu hobby? Bien, bueno, hace 40 años que tomo fotografías. Que tomo fotografías. Bien. Número 2. ¿Cuánto tiempo hace que vives en Arizona? And now I'm going to give you a very vague answer with this one, a murky. Hace muchísimo tiempo que vivo en Arizona. Hace muchísimo tiempo que vivo en Arizona. But I have to have the vivo because I'm still living here, right? Okay.
Right.
But notice all this stuff really actually goes away from the question, right? Because
Right.
the information you plug in. So, actually, this is a good question. ¿Hace cuánto tiempo que trabajas en tu empleo? En este empleo. Hace, hace 5 años, más o menos, hace 5 años que trabajo yo en mi empleo aquí. ¿Cuánto tiempo hace que tienes un mascota? Hace 12 o 13 años que tengo mascotas. Que tengo mascotas, pets. ¿Hace cuánto tiempo que conoces a tu mejor amigo? Wow. Mi mejor amigo, depende, sí, mi mejor amiga aquí en Arizona hace 15 años que conozco a mi mejor amigo aquí en Arizona. Hace como 50 años, 50 años que conozco a mi mejor amiga en Michigan, ¿sí? Mi amiga de la infancia, my childhood friend. ¿Ok? Depende. ¿Cuánto tiempo hace que manejas un auto? Wow. Hace, I'm dating myself on this one. Hace 50 años, más o menos 50 años que manejo un auto, but you'll see, I'm always using a dual verb here. ¿Hace cuánto tiempo que usas tus zapatos? Mis zapatos favoritos, que no son chanclas, which really are not sandals, que no son chanclas. Hace 8
50 años.
No. Hace 8 años que uso mis zapatos favoritos, ¿sí? I haven't had any short periods of time in these, have I? ¿Hace cuánto tiempo que vives en mi casa? Hace 26 años que vivo en mi casa. Hace 26 años que vivo en mi casa. Bien, ok. Otro ejemplo. If you had only been working in your job for 6 months, 6
Right.
months, ¿sí? Hace 6 meses que trabajo en mi empleo. If you've been working there for 6 months. Bien, ¿sí?
Yeah, I got that one right.
Okay, eso es. If you have had your pet for a short while, because you adopted someone recently and you don't really remember when exactly,
Right.
right?
Poco tiempo, un rato.
Hace
Hace
poco
tiempo.
tiempo que tengo
Un
una
rato.
mascota.
Tengo.
Hace un rato is a very, very favored phrase to use for a short while. Un rato. Hace un rato. For a while. Hace un rato que tengo una mascota. Okay. Bueno, we probably would not use rato with your best friend because that's going to be a long time, right? See?
Yeah.
Espero, we hope. Okay. Bien. Okay. A ver. And now we've got, I think we're going to do this one together because this one is a little bit tougher. That second set of slides we had talked about what happens when we plug in the idea of no.
Mhm.
Plug in the idea with no. Then if we insert no, we're doing that to say that someone hasn't done something for a certain period of time. So I haven't done this for a while. And a lot of us have things that we haven't done for a while. Like maybe you haven't bought an actual physical book, because you always use an ebook, and maybe you haven't bought an actual physical book for like 5 years because you just always read things on your phone or whatever, your ebooks. Yeah, this is the kind of situation we use this in, right? Or, you're watching your grandkids do something. You're watching your grandkids climb a tree, or your kids climb a tree. Say, oh my gosh, I haven't climbed a tree in 15 years and 10 years, Okay, we can say these ideas with plugging a no in. Same construction, but we plug in the word no with that verb. Okay, so el ejemplo, the example here is hace 20 años que no monto en bici en la calle. I haven't ridden a street bike. Yeah, a bike you ride on the street with all the cars. I haven't done that for 20 years. Hace 20 años que no monto en bici. Okay, all we do is we plug in a no in front of that verb. So we've got sentence starters for this, and we're going to plug in some ideas. So we're going to share some of these now. Bien? We're going to finish these ideas, right? But you have to plug something into that time slot. Bien? Okay. Hace boom, 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 que no. And we've got to have a ver and a name of a relative. How long that you haven't seen a certain relative?
2 años.
Hace 4 años.
Okay, so let's get an idea. And I'm sorry, I cannot see you if you're raising your hand because I've got this share screen on. It's blocking my view of you guys. So, Juanita, it sounds like you had an idea to plug in here.
Hace 4 años que yo no veo a mis hermanos.
Bien, sí. Hace 4 años que no veo a mis hermanos.
Sí.
Bien, hace 4 años que no veo a mis hermanos. I haven't seen my brothers and sisters for 4 years. Bien, vale. Bueno, okay. Otra idea. Somebody else come up with a different relative, different thing to plug in.
Okay, I can do one. Hace 7 años que no veo a mi sobrina Melanie.
Bien, perfecto, perfecto. Muy bien. Bueno. And we could even plug in those vague periods of times like mucho tiempo or un rato with this. Hace un rato que no veo a mi mejor amiga porque ella visita a su mamá because she's visiting her mom, so I haven't seen her in a while. Así, ¿bien? Okay.
Bien.
Bueno, otra idea. Hace, we have to plug in a period of time, que mis hijos no. My kids haven't done something. My kids haven't done something for a while. I've got a long list of things I can plug into this one. Un ejemplo. Hace, hace,
No,
Mucho
no
tiempo.
limpio, no limpio.
Tiempo. Limpiar.
mucho
Mucho
tiempo.
tiempo.
Hace mucho tiempo que no
Okay.
limpian. They haven't cleaned something for a long time.
That's good.
Hace mucho tiempo que no limpian sus cuartos. Hace mucho tiempo que no limpian la cocina. Hace mucho tiempo que no limpian los baños.
Or for older children, hace mucho tiempo que no visitan con nosotros.
Sí, así es, sí, bien. So you get the idea. Yeah, we can plug in any kind of verb there. See, hace mucho tiempo que no visitan nuestra casa. They haven't visited our house in a while. So yeah, es flexible. El tiempo, the time. El tiempo es flexible. That part is very, very flexible and is very changeable. We plug in what we mean, right? Hace tiempo, yeah, okay, we already kind of did that. But if we made it nosotros here, it would change this limpiar to what? So let's get rid of this section.
Limpiamos.
Yeah, sí, limpiamos. So here, if we make it specific to we, right? We make that verb say the we idea. Hace una semana. Hace poco tiempo, just a short while. Hace poco tiempo que no limpiamos la casa. Hace 3 días. Hace 3 días que no limpiamos nuestra casa. Así, bien? So, any period of time, probably hours wouldn't be very logical there, but days, weeks, all that stuff. Okay, hace. I haven't met up with, and I'm sorry, I was trying to do, that actually is a bad example, perdón, because that would mean meet for the first time. I haven't met I should have put in a different verb. I was trying to get a conocer in. Let's change this.
Visitar.
Conversar con. Okay. Hace period of time. I haven't talked with my neighbors. Hace.
Eso.
Hace 2 semanas.
Hace 2 semanas que no converso con mis vecinos, por ejemplo. ¿Sí? Bien. This is a good one. How long since my favorite team hasn't won a championship?
I got to try that one.
Okay, sí, Marcos. Hace.
Go for it.
Hace 20 años de mi equipo favorito, New York Rangers hockey team. No ganar un campeonato.
Que nací hace con años, que sí, hace muchos años que mi equipo favorito, los Cubbies, sí, no, que mi equipo favorito no gana el campeonato de béisbol. Así es. Okay, hace period of time and, we haven't gone to our favorite restaurant in how much time? Hace
2 semanas.
Hace 2 semanas que no
No,
No,
Nos vamos.
vamos,
vamos.
A nuestro.
que no
A
vamos a nuestro restaurante favorito, ¿sí? Hace 2 semanas, for 2 weeks, ¿sí? Que nosotros no vamos a nuestro restaurante favorito. We haven't gone to our favorite restaurant in a couple of weeks. Perfecto, bien. So we've got a mix of things that are short periods of time and long periods of time. Something totally independent. How long I haven't done something.
Hace 3 meses que no voy a un museo.
Bueno, sí.
Hace 7 años que yo no compro un auto.
Bien, sí,
Okay.
sí, ya. Eso sí. Hace
7 años no visito Europa.
bien,
Oh, okay.
bien.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we can plug any verb in there, but the no idea means you haven't done that for a certain period. So you get an idea of, how do we use that positively? How do we use that negatively? Okay?
Sí.
Vale. Bueno, a ver. Okay. Okay, we're getting a little bit short on time here, but quiero practicar. I want to practice a little bit, and we'll do this one together. I wanted to move on to give you some practice with these 2 verbs of saber and conocer. Saber and conocer. Is that a headache? See? Te duele me duele la cabeza. My head hurts. Okay. We're going to take a look at saber and conocer, but we're going to step through this a little bit together here. Bien. And actually, I think what we might do is save some of this for homework, but we'll see. We'll see how much time we've got to do it justice. Yeah. Vale, aquí. Saber and conocer. Kind of like ser, estar, that really annoying thing that we've got 2 verbs that are used. In English, we only have this many verbs, but in Spanish, we've got 2. It's the same thing. But this is easier to use, actually, than ser, estar. That difference between ser and estar is legitimately a tough thing for us in English to distinguish. Saber and conocer is a little bit easier to distinguish between these 2 verbs. Saber is to know facts or to know how to do something. Eso es. That's just it. Eso es. Okay. The only odd thing we need to remember, and it is an odd thing, is that this one conjugation, just that one by itself, is irregular. But saber is irregular, but all the other forms outside of yo, anything that's not yo, will conjugate regularly. So saber, we get rid of the ER and we conjugate it. And that works for tú, for él, ella, usted, for nosotros, for vosotros, for ellos, ellas, ustedes. It does not work for yo. If you ever try to say sabo, somebody will give you a very blank stare because, that is not the words. And because a lot of times we do conversationally say, I know something or I don't know something. This is a really critical word. And the nice thing is, even though it's irregular, it is a short one syllable word, say. So, se con acento, with an accent mark. If you write it, it gets an accent mark. There is a different word, se, which means something else, and it's used in a different way, but that's a very long story we're not going to talk about today. So, this word se will mean I know, yo sé, or just by itself, se. Do understand that combining lo with se is very, very common. Whether it is positive, sí, lo sé, I know, or no lo sé. When we use it in the yo form in particular, it's very common to say, I don't know, as no lo sé. Putting in that little word lo, it's not, that lo word has nothing to do with the verb form se in particular. It's just the way people usually phrase this to say, oh, I know, might actually be no, yo lo sé, I know it, or no lo sé, I don't know it. That it idea is often inserted, even though we might not in English insert the idea of it. It is very common to hear sé combined with that word lo. Lo sé, to say it positively, I know. You're telling your mom is telling kids something and the kids don't want to be reminded, right? And it goes, mamá, lo sé, I know, right? But often the lo will be thrown in there. Okay, a ver. Okay, a ver, entonces, saber, we use it for knowing facts, for knowing information, for knowing how to do something. So let's see if, no, wait, we can't do that yet. Perdón. Okay. Por ejemplo, so let's give some examples. Here's some examples of knowing how to do something. Knowing how to do something. And I think, my last word got cut off on this last one. Yo sé arreglar la llanta. I know how to fix a tire. Los chicos saben leer. The kids know how to
read.
La mujer sabe cocinar. The woman knows how to cook. And so, yo sé arreglar, and I could get rid of the yo part, right? I could get rid of the yo, but yo sé arreglar la llanta, but saben leer. When we say you know how to do something, right? That thing you know how to do stays in infinitive. We don't conjugate the two verbs together, right? You conjugate the saber part. And the second part, when the two verbs walk together like that, the second one generally doesn't get conjugated. Yeah. La mujer sabe cocinar. She knows how to cook. To cook doesn't get conjugated because it is an infinitive. Cocinar, to cook. Yeah. Sabemos hablar español. We know how to speak Spanish. See? Sabemos, the we know part, and hablar is the thing we know how to do. Sabes manejar. Do you know how to drive? Mis amigos saben montar en moto. My moto word got cut off. I didn't have any space in there. Mis amigos saben montar en moto. My friends know how to ride a motorcycle. And the forms of saber follow who can do it, right? Who knows how? Who knows how? Yo sé, chicos, los chicos saben, la mujer sabe, sabemos, sabes, do you know, sabes, mis amigos saben, they know how to, bien? A ver, okay, let's see if we can plug this in. Plug this in. Ooh. And I've got to move this a little bit so we can actually read it. Okay. A ver. Tocar instrumento. And we can plug in this instrument or something else. Sabes. So I could ask, ¿Sabes tocar la guitarra? Do you know how to play guitar? Bien?
Sí.
¿Cómo se dice? I know how to play guitar.
No lo sé.
Okay. Okay.
No,
Now, tocar.
sé tocar la
Oh,
guitarra.
okay.
Sé
No, sé
tocar.
tocar la guitarra.
Sé
Okay.
tocar la guitarra. Sé tocar la guitarra. If I don't know how to play guitar, no
No sé.
sé
No sé tocar
sé
la guitarra.
tocar la guitarra. I could take out
Tocar, yeah.
guitarra and I could plug in trompeta, right? I could
Mhm.
plug in piano. I could plug in whatever the instrument is. See? Tocar, sé tocar. Sé tocar.
All
No
right.
sé tocar, ¿sí?
Sí.
¿Sabes calcular los impuestos?
No
Sé
sé.
calcular los
Sé
impuestos.
calcular los impuestos.
Sé calcular los impuestos. ¿Cómo se dice? I don't know how to calculate my taxes.
Ujú.
No sé.
No sé calcular
No
Los
sé
impuestos.
calcular.
calcular mis impuestos.
Calcular.
No sé calcular los impuestos. No sé calcular los impuestos. Bien. Cultivar flores. Cultivate or grow flowers.
Sé cultivar
Sé
flores.
cultivar
Sé
flores.
considerar
Sé cultivar flores o no sé cultivar muy bien las flores, ¿sí? Bien, a ver, ¿sí? So you can see, we're going to let you, next week, I'm going to say, come in to talk about, and I'm leaving the bottom half off here. Come in next week and I'll send this whole file to you. Come in prepared to talk about
The
if you
person
know
who
how to do this stuff or who does know how to
Mm.
do that. So in other words, if I don't know how to play an instrument, but one of my kids does, right?
Mm.
I'm going to put in the instrument, but what do I have to do with that verb saber if I want to say somebody else knows how to?
conjugate it.
Marilyn, can I ask a question here?
Sí.
And I realize that you've been kind of trying to keep us in present tense, but as we were looking at these pictures, I'm thinking, well, I used to know how to do something. And I realized that would take us into past tense, but could you give us like 60
How do you
seconds
say that?
of 60, yeah. So I'm thinking like the tocar, an instrument.
Sí.
Yo no lo sé tocar la guitarra
Aquí.
a tiempo.
Okay.
But I used, but like as a child, I knew how.
Sí.
So do I just want to use like the past tense, past preterite of, is it actually,
Right.
is it preterite or is it imperfecto?
It would be that
saber?
imperfecto. And you'd probably have two ways you can go on that. You could take saber and put it in imperfecto. Sabía tocar la guitarra. I used to know how to play guitar.
Mm.
Pero hace muchos años que no toco la guitarra, but I haven't played it for a bunch of years. Yeah. Or you could take that verb tocar by itself. Your second choice is take that verb tocar by itself. Get rid of the saber thing. Tocaba la guitarra, pero ya no toco, but I don't play it anymore. Sí. Tocada and imperfecto. See? Okay. Bien?
Yeah.
So you have probably one of two ways. You can either take the saber part and put it in imperfecto or the tocar part and put it in imperfecto. Either way.
So it'd be like either saying, I used to know how to do something or I used to do it.
Exacto. Yeah. Used to puts it in the realm of the past. Exacto. Exactly right. See. Bien. Okay, so I want you to talk about whether or not you know how to do this stuff. And if you don't know how to do this stuff, if you know of somebody, there is somebody who knows how to. So that's going to be one thing to do. And then we're going to preview conocer as well. Conocer is the other one that does an odd thing for jaw. Only the jaw form, not any others, only the jaw form gets a funny spelling and a funny maybe pronunciation. In other words, an irregular form for jaw. But the other forms of conocer are going to be very, very regular following the pattern. So, yo conozco gets a ZCO. And this is a phonetic reason. All you need to know is that conocer ends with a ser, an S sound, S-E-R, ser. And we have to preserve that a sound in all the conjugations. So in order to do that, because CO by itself would be conozco, we have to put the S sound in this way. It's a phonetic thing. Conozco, but conoces, regular, conoce, regular, conocemos, we know, conocéis, only in Spain, and conocen. Bien? Bueno. Okay, 2 good words for you to think about. First, primero, conocer is used when we say we know people, okay? We know human beings, or to say that you are familiar with something on a very deep level. Okay. So in other words, conocer is used a lot with places. It's always used with people. If you have met that person, you've actually been face to face with that person at some time, no matter how briefly. Okay. Bien. If I know who the president is, that does not mean I have ever been together in a room with the president. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's a difference between conocer, I have actually been face to face with the president, and knowing who the guy is. Knowing who the guy is just saber, information. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I've never met him. How likely in millions of people am I to have met somebody who's got that important a job? Not very likely, right? So conocer is for people, you've actually met that person. And also, when we talk about knowing a place, meaning you have actually been to that place. And that place can be as small as a meeting room, a house, a neighborhood, a town, a city, a country, but it has to mean you've actually physically been in that place. Yeah. Okay. So conocer is used a lot with people and with places and with other stuff. Yeah. When people use conocer, they mean they are familiar with something on a very deep level. They have interacted, they have manipulated, they have it had interaction with that thing. Okay. So conocer is a deeper level. And here are the forms, okay? And I'm going to have you next week practice. So you're going to practice the tail end of these saber things. You're going to get these all in the email, right? So, and if you don't know how to do some of these things, think of somebody else who does know how to do that thing, right? And then, perdón. I'm getting all my... And then you're going to practice these ideas here with conocer, right? What people do you know? What places are you familiar with? We're kind of really dividing it up into those ideas. So we're going to talk about whether or not you know your cousins. Do you know of a good Mexican restaurant? And that means that you've actually been to that place and eaten there. You have eaten something there. You know that place. If you know a city, you're familiar with a city where stuff is located in that city. If you know of a good place to camp and if you know your neighbors. So one thing I want to point out about conocer, which is a little bit different than saber, is that if we talk about knowing people, we oddly do have to have this little word in our idea. And I'll show you some examples before we leave you today very quickly. This little word will not translate to anything at all, but here are the examples. Yeah. Yo no conozco a Tom Hanks. I don't know Tom Hanks. Yo no conozco a Tom Hanks. And I have to have that there because he's a human being. Okay. Mi esposo conoce a un plomero. My husband knows a plumber. See? And actually, I'm going to put a good plumber.
How about a cheap plumber?
A cheap plumber, see?
A good and cheap
There
plumber.
are none of that. Doesn't
sí.
exist.
No existence.
Doesn't exist.
Que no, yeah, sí. Okay. Mi esposo conoce a un buen plomero. But has to, because it's a human being, yeah, plomero, we have to have that. Conocen ustedes a un buen médico. Do you know a good doctor? Si conoces, tú, un buen restaurante. Conoces tú, do you know? Conoces. I'm going to take the tú out because you already know it's tú, right? Conoces un buen restaurante. Do you know a good restaurant? Okay. So we don't need an for a place. We do need an we don't need an for a place. We do need an for a human being. So I'll give you all those notes and all that stuff so you can practice that a little bit to come back in and talk with people about that next week. La semana que viene. Ok, ¿está bien? ¿Todo bien?
Está bien.
Todo bien, bien.
Bien.
Okay, bien. I'm also going to give you some homework unrelated to verbs, to give you a little break. Some homework that's going to give you some more vocabulary about talking about people, ways to describe people. So we can do some practice that's very, very conversational to talk about what people that we interact with are like. Yeah. Not just if they're tall or short or fat or skinny, but are they capable? Yeah. Are they, some kind of more, a little bit higher level descriptive vocabulary. So I'm going to give you a list of words and a video, which is a little bit on the long side, but it'll show you examples of how those are used. Okay, todo bien.
Okay, todo
Sí,
bien.
Bien.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Gracias. Carrie, sorry. Carrie, sorry that I click in quickly
Adios.
when I get out of the meeting room.